Former Ravens guard Ben Powers is planning to sign a 4-year deal with the Denver Broncos. Powers started 36 games for Baltimore. Not surprised by that move. Not surprised at all that Ben Powers, the best pass blocking guard in free agency, is signing with Sean Payton's team. Wow! Shocking! Now, I had him going to the Buffalo Bills because I thought like they really needed a guard that could pass protect for Josh Allen. But the Denver Broncos, man, makes perfect sense. I think it's a really, really solid move by the Denver Broncos. I think Ben Powers is in his prime, about 26 years old. He's a good, like I said, PFF's highest graded guard, pass blocking in free agency, second overall. He does have some flaws in his run blocking, but he's not bad. I mean, he plays for Baltimore, so he's a scheme fit in Denver for Sean Payton as well. Typically what Sean Payton likes in his offensive linemen is big, ugly, power offensive linemen. He likes size. Because he comes from the Bill Parcells tree, think Bill Belichick, think Sean Payton, and those are the type of guys that Sean Payton likes. So the connection between Baltimore and a Sean Payton scheme is not that surprising. Powers is a good football player in his prime, instantly going to upgrade the Denver Broncos offensive line and help protect Russell Wilson and allow him a little bit more time to move around and do his thing. So that's a huge move right away by the Broncos. I knew the Broncos would be aggressive. I didn't exactly know where they would target immediately, but the offensive line felt like a good place to start, and good move. I like that move a lot for Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos. So the Broncos are giving right tackle Mike McGlinchey a massive 5-year deal worth $87.5 million with over $50 million guaranteed. Woo! The McFloppy man making the cash. $87.5 million, $50 guaranteed for Mike McGlinchey. Personally, I don't think he's worth that money. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Mike McGlinchey is not worth all of that cash, okay? Because he's been too inconsistent for the 49ers. But he was a first-round pick, which drives up his price. He's in his prime. And usually offensive linemen actually get better around this age. So Mike McGlinchey might still be getting better. So there's a little bit of projection there, because usually offensive linemen actually play their best from about 27 to like 30. So he could still be getting better. The Broncos have very good offensive line coaching and offensive coaching. I think that is a crazy contract for a guy that is not a great pass blocker. I think that's a crazy contract. $50 million guaranteed, $87.5 million for the full deal. That's wild for a guy that is a better run blocker than pass blocker. But I also understand, because you have Russell Wilson, this huge investment in Denver. Sean Payton needs to address right tackle. It was their biggest need by far. Right tackle was their biggest need by far. So it fits a need. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for a okay to good tackle. I would say a good tackle, okay? It's a lot for not a great player. I would have rather paid Orlando Brown. But, I mean, Orlando Brown might get even more than that. So, we'll have to see. If Mike McGlinchey's getting 87.5 over 5 with 50 guaranteed, Orlando Brown's getting 100 mil. Orlando Brown's getting 100 mil. Probably. I mean, if I'm Orlando Brown's agent, I am smiling ear to ear right now. Mike McGlinchey's good football player. Not a great one. Still could get better. Good run blocker. Inconsistent pass blocker. if Kyle Shanahan doesn't want you back, or at least make, an attempt, I don't think, at wanting you back, I'm a little concerned about paying you $87.5 million. But then again, the guy that's paying them, Sean Payton. So you gotta trust Sean Payton. You just got to. When you look at the Niners, obviously the right tackle on the opposite side of Trent Williams is going to get the best pass rushers. He's going to have the most pressure on him. And he's also all the time going to be criticized because Trent Williams never gets beat. So when you're on the opposite side of Trent Williams, you look a lot worse than you actually are. So, and what I'll also say about Mike McGlinchey is I think he could get a lot better because he's just entering his prime right now. So I feel like he could get a lot better. So I think that's what they're hoping. I don't think this is a Nate Solder type of signing where Nate Solder was already like in his 30s when the Giants tried to sign him to a long-term contract. Former Raiders quarterback Jarrett Stidham is signing a 2-year, $10 million deal with the Broncos, choosing to play for Sean Payton over other options. The deal, which includes $5 million guaranteed and $4 million more in upside, reunites him with Davis Webb, who he has known since he was a teenager. That just seems, you know what that seems like to me for Jarrett Stidham? That just seems like a life decision right there. That feels like a life decision. And I have no problem with it for Jarrett Stidham. No problem with it. I feel like he probably had better career decisions that he could make, probably for less money. But Stidham, do your thing, bro. Do your thing. Go to Denver. Have some fun, reunite with a buddy, have a good time, be a backup, make your money, do your thing. Like, Jarrett Stidham probably looking at it like 2-year, $10 million deal. He's getting 5 guaranteed, probably more money than he could get anywhere else. And I would think maybe he could get more elsewhere. But to me, what that sounds like is a life decision. I'm going to be a backup for the Broncos for a couple years. Maybe Russell Wilson stinks and I get an opportunity. Possible. But I like it for Stidham. Good for him. I'm a fan of Stidham. I like Stidham. I've always liked Stidham. I think I ranked him like higher in my draft rankings than like any other person I saw that year. I think I had him like 4th in that draft class, which that was a crappy draft class. That was like the Dwayne Haskins, rest in peace, draft class. I think that was Kyler Murray year, I think. Yeah, that was a crappy draft class, but I had Stidham pretty high. He played well in his 2 starts last year, especially against the Niners, the number 1 defense in the league for the Raiders. I just wonder how he would fit into a non-Patriot system. Now, I guess the Sean Payton system is somewhat familiar there, and there's probably a lot of carryover between Sean Payton and Josh McDaniels, so I don't think it's super drastic, but that's an interesting move for Denver, getting a priority backup. Sean Payton is kind of known for that. He likes to bring in backup quarterbacks, and it puts a little bit of pressure on Russell Wilson at least. There's at least a respectable guy behind you that can take your spot at some point. So it puts a little bit of a bump in the bum for Russell Wilson. Yeah, but I like Stidham. Zach Allen, one of my favorite guys in free agency, defensive lineman, has agreed to a 3-year, $45.75 million deal that includes $32.5 million guaranteed. Zach Allen is reuniting with Vance Joseph in Denver. This was actually the prediction I had for Zach Allen. Not surprised that Arizona did not come up with a contract for him, given that I feel like the schemes between Vance Joseph and Jonathan Gannon are very far apart. So it felt like Zach Allen was going to find a new home, and he has with the Denver Broncos. I really like Zach Allen, and I think he's trending upward. I think he's going to be a very good player. And if Broncos fans want to be excited about this guy, J.J. Watt loves this guy. So if you want like a stamp of approval from an interior defensive lineman, J.J. Watt is probably that guy. And especially in this type of system that Vance Joseph runs, where he loves the 3 interior defensive linemen, very similar to what Fangio and Evero have been running there already. But Vance Joseph is a lot more aggressive with his tendencies in terms of blitzing and things of that nature. Zach Allen is an ascending talent. This guy is going to be very, very good. I think this is a fair contract. Might be a little bit of a overpay based on his past results, but it's very much in line with where I believe he will be and more people believe he will be down the road. So this is a little bit of a projection, but he had his best season of his career this past year. He was the highest graded Cardinal run defender last year. He was also a beast pass rushing. So he has very few flaws, and he's just starting to kind of come into his own as a big interior defensive lineman. I'm actually going to do a little bit more research in terms of statistics so I can kind of give you some backup of this proof of what I'm saying here. But just looking at the numbers in terms of Pro Football Focus, he had 34 pressures on 420 snaps. He had 6 sacks, 14 quarterback hits on the season, 6 sacks. So pretty good. And he's lined up on the left and the right. So some versatility there. But overall, I mean, him and J.J. Watt formed probably the best part of Arizona's defense last year, which was the interior pass rush. And what I think you're getting here, Denver fans, is you're getting a replacement for Draymond Jones. Draymond Jones is going to get a huge contract. But what I will say about Draymond Jones, I actually prefer Zach Allen. The reason I prefer Zach Allen is because Zach Allen's a more well-rounded player, and he's also younger. I think Zach Allen's about 25 years old, and Jones is, I want to say, 27 or 28 off the top of my head. Jones is maybe a better pure pass rusher, but Allen could grow into that, and he's a better run defender. So one of the biggest things the Broncos have actually struggled with is their run defense. I think Zach Allen will help solve that. So I like this fit. We've seen him progress in this system. It's a perfect transition for Zach Allen. It should be very seamless. And you're getting a young player that's just entering his prime on a 3-year contract. I think that's a great signing. Great signing for Denver. Samaje Perine signed with the Broncos. 2-year deal with the Denver Broncos. I knew that Denver would be in on a second running back. And they have one here with Samaje Perine, who is going to be a nice compliment to Javonte Williams and potentially even the lead back if Javonte Williams takes a little bit more time coming back from his serious injuries. Because he had a very serious injury. So it's going to take him some time to come back and rehab. But Samaje Perine, underrated. I thought he had his best year of his career last year. I thought at multiple moments and times he outperformed Joe Mixon. I think there's a reason that even when Joe Mixon was a very good running back in this league, he was taking his spot on third down because he's a very good pass protector. He's a good receiver, and he's just a smart football player. So Samaje Perine is a nice, capable number 2 back in the rotation of Denver. And you know that Sean Payton's going to want to run the ball. You know who Samaje Perine reminds me of? This just comes to my mind. It reminds me a little bit of like Pierre Thomas with the Saints. Like, he's not going to be the lead back, but he's like a good pass back, a good pass blocker. Like, that's who he reminds me of if you're looking for a Sean Payton comp. Pierre Thomas. That role. That's what he's going to do.